Good evening, everybody. 365 days later, I am very happy to report, at least in my decade of being at SIA, this is the biggest and potentially the most cheerful crowd we've ever had here. So, good evening. Welcome to the 47th Annual Semiconductor Industry Association Awards Dinner. Wow, we're pushing 50. That's something. I'm John Newfer, SIA President and CEO. On behalf of the SIA Board of Directors, thank you for joining us this evening. We have a wonderful program planned for you tonight. Before we continue with dinner, I'd like to recognize the following platinum and gold sponsors. Their support has helped make tonight's program possible. Over the past couple of years, however, this part of the program has evolved, or maybe devolved, into a bit of a competitive cheering cage match. So let's see how things go this year as I read out the names of these platinum and gold sponsors. Arizona Commerce Authority. There we go. Clary Gottlieb. Okay. Indiana Economic Development Corporation. Intel, I think, is somewhere over here. Jobs Ohio. Jobs Ohio. Jobs Ohio. All right, let's cheer for Jobs Ohio. Michigan Economic Development Corporation. Wow, they're killing it. National Institute for Industry and Career Advancement. Nice. NVIDIA. We're still waiting for the boss. They'll cheer louder when he shows. New York Les Nanotech. All right. Oh. Salesforce. Okay. Samsung. Come on. Okay. Excellent. Synopsys. That came out of nowhere. Western Digital. You're going to find out why that happened in a little bit. AMD. Amcor. Analog Devices. Okay. Aero Electronics. Coherent. Where's Jim? Dassault Systems. EFC Gases and Advanced Materials. All right, they're killing it back there. Flanders Investment and Trade. Fragaman. There we go. Global Foundries. All right, Tom, you got to work on that. IBM. Where is Joe? IMEC. Yeah, okay, Joe used to work for us. He lost his voice, I think. Infineon. Marvell. Ian, My Silicon Compass. Okay, Ian, you're not even cheering. What the heck? Okay, all right. Plug and Play. PwC. Qualcomm. Rambus. Luke. Sci-Fi. SK Hynix. And Texas Instruments. All right. Now, well, this is a mouthful. I'm very happy to say we have more platinum and gold sponsors this year than ever. So let's give all of our sponsors a big round of applause. Okay, as in previous years, I don't see them. I'd like to recognize the young geniuses from the first robotics program. Here they are, okay. Hold on. Seeing their amazing robotics creations at our reception is always a highlight for me, and I think everyone here. The vigor of youth and enthusiasm is beautiful. Can you all come up here and take a bow? Watch your first step there, okay? Wow, we got a big crew this year. So these are the faces and the future of the industry. And I'll just say, some of our board members here may see these kids in a few years when they hire them, if they play their cards right. And some of you out there may be taking orders from some of these kids someday. So a special thanks to Lonnie Weissman and Luan Heimlich from First Robotics for arranging to have these wonderful boys and girls, young men and young women, join us tonight. Let's give them one more big round of applause. Thank you. All right, guys, thank you. So, I don't think they wanted to leave the stage. Now we'll take a quick break for dinner, but before we do that, here's a short video to help us set the stage for the evening. So please feel free to start if you haven't already. Thank you.
Since the invention of the first integrated circuit more than 6 decades ago, the world has experienced an astounding technological revolution, powered by the semiconductor. Semiconductors are a marvel of modern technology and the product of highly advanced research, design, and manufacturing. The forward march of semiconductor innovation has been advanced by our industry's landmark policy victories. The CHIPS and Science Act stands as a shining example, sparking new semiconductor production and innovation in America. And we continue to press for more policies that will help strengthen all areas of the semiconductor ecosystem. Companies have announced 80 new semiconductor ecosystem projects across the United States. These projects are forecast to create roughly 60,000 jobs in the semiconductor space and support hundreds of thousands of additional jobs across the U.S. economy. Fast forward to 2032 and, all told, U.S. chip manufacturing capacity is projected to triple, the largest percentage increase in the world. Over the next decade, America will produce a significantly larger share of the world's most advanced chips, which will drive U.S. leadership in artificial intelligence and power our data centers, networking equipment, PCs, smartphones, automotive systems, and countless other products. In addition, the CHIPS Act will advance important research programs that will propel semiconductor innovation, including the National Semiconductor Technology Center and the National Advanced Packaging Manufacturing Program. As we celebrate America's semiconductor resurgence, we must also continue to promote growth across the entire semiconductor sector. 4 core policy priorities will help ensure the enduring strength of U.S. semiconductor research, design, and manufacturing. First, CHIPS Act incentives should be extended beyond their current 2026 expiration date and expanded to cover semiconductor design and other critical areas of the U.S. semiconductor ecosystem. Second, we must build on the industry's long-standing workforce development efforts, grow the pipeline of STEM graduates in America, and attract and retain more of the top engineers and scientists from around the world. Third, we must invest ambitiously in research and innovation to maintain America's lead in the key technologies of today and tomorrow. Fourth, we must promote smart, strategic international partnerships and economic policies that boost global demand and open new markets for U.S.-made chips, helping the U.S. chip industry maintain its competitive edge. We've come a long way, and there is still much to do. With energy, optimism, and a lot of hard work, the U.S. semiconductor industry is poised to thrive, doing great things for the country and the world over the next decade and beyond.
Let's get this happy show on the road again. Good evening again. Thank you for being here tonight. Again, it's great to be together. It is great to be together at such a busy and consequential moment for our industry. Tonight's an opportunity for us to take a deep breath, reflect on where we are as an industry, and look ahead to the future. We have an excellent program for you tonight. In a few minutes, I'll welcome SIA's 2025 chair, David Geckler from Western Digital, to say a few words. Oh, that reminds me, my crack team pointed out that I actually do make mistakes every once in a while. And when we were going through the platinum sponsor list, I left out Micron. So let's give a special cheer for Micron. And I will just say, Micron wasn't complaining or whining about that. That was our own team who brought that up. So thank you, Micron, for being so kind. All right, thank you. All right. Later, we'll recognize 2 university professors for their outstanding contribution to semiconductor research, and we're thrilled to present the Noyce Award, the industry's highest honor, to Art de Geus. We're also excited to hear from our keynote presenter, Natcast CEO Deirdre Hanford, our own Deirdre. I have the distinct honor of being able to do a fireside chat with her later this evening. Oh, and to spice things up a bit, we have a couple of special video messages from some guests. You won't want to miss that. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to reflect on where we are as an industry and the work that remains to be done to strengthen all corners of our semiconductor ecosystem. This is the end of my 9th year at the helm at SIA. I'm not so sure how I should take that clapping. And each year seems to be a little busier than the last. Indeed, I started this job with a head of bushy brown hair. That's actually a total lie, but it's true. Shall I say my hair is a bit sparser than it used to be. We've come a long way as an industry during the last decade. For starters, global chip sales have nearly doubled, increasing from $335 billion in 2015 to a projected total of more than $600 billion by the end of this year. And some forecasts have our industry topping $1 trillion in sales globally at the end of the decade. The simple reason? Our market is growing rapidly because chips are more essential to the world around us than ever before, and we have had the innovative wherewithal to successfully feed that seemingly insatiable appetite. Our chips have strengthened American industries, generated millions of American jobs, and made this country more innovative and globally competitive. They have made billions of lives better, safer, happier, richer, and healthier. SIA and our member companies are proud to have advanced policies that allow our industry to continue to grow and strengthen here at home and around the world. The CHIPS Act of 2022 was, of course, a landmark accomplishment for our industry and an historic leap forward for U.S. semiconductor production and innovation. The CHIPS Act has sparked dozens of manufacturing projects across 28 states, nearly $500 billion in company investments, and hundreds of thousands of direct and indirect jobs across the U.S. economy. America is now on track to triple its domestic semiconductor manufacturing capacity by 2032. Triple our manufacturing capacity by 2032, the largest percentage increase in the world. The CHIPS Act marked an inflection point in America's semiconductor resurgence, but much work remains to be done on the policy front to reinforce all areas of our great industry. As 2025 approaches, we face a dynamic landscape in Washington and in capitals around the world. A new administration is coming to town, along with a new Congress in January. SIA is eager to work with incoming and returning leaders in our capital to build our momentum and keep America at the forefront of semiconductor innovation. This is our primary focus now. Policymakers from across the political spectrum recognize a strong domestic chip industry is critical to America's economic strength, national security, technology leadership, and global competitiveness. There are 4 key policy priorities we must promote in the year ahead. First, we must build on the success of the CHIPS Act as a driver of private investment in America. We should continue to implement its successful manufacturing incentives, extend its advanced manufacturing investment tax credit, and expand that credit to cover semiconductor design and R&D. We gonna get a clap for that one? Yeah, I thought. At least from some of the room. Second, we must ensure America strengthens its edge in semiconductor innovation to stay ahead of competition. That means doubling down on chip research and advancing critical R&D programs, including the NSTC, Deirdre, and the National Advanced Packaging Manufacturing Program. Dev, where's Dev? He's somewhere. Yeah, there we go. Third, we must develop and secure a high-tech workforce in America that's second to none in the world. This will require expanding the pipeline of STEM graduates in America, ensuring careers in this incredible industry are accessible to all, and allowing the best and brightest talent from around the world to work in the U.S. and spur economic growth and innovation. And fourth, we need economic policies that boost global demand in U.S. chips, strengthen our supply chains, and enhance U.S. competitiveness. That means advancing smart trade policy, leveraging strategic international partnerships, and promoting initiatives that build on our strengths. These are ambitious goals, but we are an intensively ambitious industry. The late, great Robert Noyce famously said, "Optimism is an essential ingredient for innovation." I'm as optimistic today about our industry's future as ever. As I close, let me thank you all again for being here and for your support for this unique and wonderful industry. Working together and united by common purpose, we can rise to meet this moment, overcome our challenges, and build a brighter and stronger future for our country and for the world. Together, we can do everything. Thank you. All right. Now, before we welcome SI's board chair for the year ahead, I'd like to take a moment to recognize our outgoing board chair, Rich Templeton of TI. Rich is a true mainstay in our industry, and you'd be hard-pressed to find a more capable and accomplished champion for us. I'll also add, you'd be hard-pressed to find someone as uninterested at being on the receiving end of syrupy accolades, so I'll be brief, Rich, if that's okay with you. There's no doubt that we're much better off as an association and as an industry thanks to Rich's leadership over the years. I can also say, Rich, in countless ways, you've helped me become better at my job. In fact, much better. Rich, we will miss you for your leadership and for the central casting profile you have cut over the decades in our industry. On behalf of the SI team at 12th and K in Washington, D.C., the entire SI board, thank you, Rich. Okay, with that, I'm pleased to introduce the man who earlier today was elected unanimously to serve SI's board chair for the year ahead. David Geckler is a highly respected voice and thinker in our industry and an outstanding advocate of SI's priorities. I have very much enjoyed working with him since he joined the SIA board several years ago. We look forward to David's continuing leadership in 2025 in what I know will be a year full of challenges and opportunities. Please join me in welcoming to our stage our friend, Western Digital CEO 2025 Board Chair, Dave Gepler. Thank you.
Welcome to all of you. It's great to see everybody here. Record attendance again this year. John told me that turned people away could have been a much bigger group, so first thing for next year, John, is a bigger venue. All right, so this is an important event for the industry to come together, celebrate our success over the past year, reconnect, and look forward to even more innovation and success across the industry in the coming year. Of course, we also have some very, very important awards coming up here very soon. I'm going to get out of the way and make sure I'm going to cede most of my time to Art because he's the one everybody wants to hear from. Look, it's an honor to take over the SIA chair, especially at such an important time in the industry. I'll tell you a little inside baseball. You know, John, I look forward to working with you and your entire team, and John had some incredibly sage advice for me tonight, and that was, don't trip. And he actually told me that like 3 times, so I think we're halfway through success. We'll see if we can get off the stage here in one piece. I too want to recognize Rich. Rich, it's been great to work with you the last year. You're a stalwart in the industry, big shoes to fill. Thanks for everything you've done for the association. Fantastic work. All right, I don't have to say a whole lot to this group about the opportunity in front of the semiconductor industry. The amount of collective innovation coming from the company in this room is propelling the entire technology world forward, and in many ways, our entire society. The past several years have been a remarkable period for all of us. While we've always had an incredible heritage, this industry is now clearly at the center of economic and national security in many countries around the world. With this increased attention comes a lot more input from policymakers on the rules of navigating the road we're all on. The entire SIA team and board has risen to this challenge to influence policymakers to support this critical industry. However, the work is never done as the geopolitical environment in which we operate continues to get more complex, to say the least, especially over the last couple of weeks. I'm committed to strengthening collaboration and growth between leaders across the industry. Together, we will support the continued inaction of solutions and lessons we've developed and learned since the pandemic as chips continue to enhance global intelligence, sustainability, efficiency, and all the ways we connect with one another in the most vital ways. I invite all of you to join me as we engage policymakers in Washington and around the world navigating and shaping legislation for this vital industry. Everyone here tonight sits at the center of this incredible ecosystem. Everyone here tonight has a responsibility to foster and nurture this industry domestically and abroad. I look forward to working with all of you, my fellow board members on the SIA, the incredible team under John's leadership, ecosystem partners, customers, governments around the world, to continue to cultivate an environment where this astonishing industry continues to thrive. Once again, thank you for having me as the SIA chair. I look forward to a very productive year working with all of you. Enjoy the events tonight. I look forward to talking to many of you at reception after the dinner. John, back to you.
All right, I'm going to make a pledge to folks in that part in the back of the room. If you guys can restrain your enthusiasm for the evening, I'll sing you a song before the evening's over, okay? All right? All right, thank you, David. We're looking forward to a busy and successful year under your leadership. Now it's time for a message from a special guest, a tremendous champion of our industry from the great state of Texas, Senator John Cornyn.
Hi, I'm Texas Senator John Cornyn. Welcome to this year's Semiconductor Industry Association Awards Dinner. As you all know, semiconductors are in everything with an off and on switch, from the phones in our pockets to the F-35. Despite this, American manufacturing of these chips has dramatically declined over the years. We've become reliant on other countries, creating a national security risk we cannot ignore. That's why I introduced the Chips for America Act, now law, to bring semiconductor manufacturing back to American soil. Thanks to all of you for your hard work in making this a reality. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Senator Cornyn, as I think all of you know, has just been a tremendous champion for our industry. Now it's time to present the 2024 University Research Awards to two distinguished professors who have made exceptional contributions to semiconductor research. Professor Suman Datta from Georgia Tech and Professor Michael Flynn from the University of Michigan. Maybe the two of you could come up. Before I recognize the professors, I'd like to give a huge thanks to our partners at the Semiconductor Research Corporation, and in particular, SRC CEO Todd Youngkin, who is here tonight for identifying these outstanding university researchers as candidates for this award. Todd, don't stand up yet. I'm going to come back to you right here. I'd also like to congratulate the entire SRC team on some really huge news announced earlier this week. In case you missed it, the U.S. Department of Commerce and the SRC Manufacturing Consortia Corporation, that's a mouthful, Todd, I'm sure you're working on that, are entering negotiations to establish and operate a Manufacturing USA Institute in Durham, North Carolina. This is a great development for our industry and for the future of semiconductor research and innovation, and SIA is looking forward to supporting SRC in this exciting initiative. Let's give Todd and his team a very big round of applause. Todd, you can stand up now. Now back to the University Research Awards. Dr. Datta and Dr. Flynn have advanced groundbreaking semiconductor research, propelled technological advancement in the chip industry, and helped to create a more sustainable, reliable, and innovative future for our country and for our world. Let's recognize our first award winner and then welcome him to accept the award and say a few words. Professor Datta will receive the award for excellence in semiconductor technology research. His work encompasses the design, fabrication, and compact modeling of nanoelectronic devices, as well as their applications in circuits for next-generation, energy-efficient, and high-performance computing. That is a long adjectival phrase. Professor Datta pioneered the exploration of emerging electronics to enable new computing paradigms, including in-memory computing, machine learning acceleration, neomorphic computing, and cryogenic computing. Please give a round of applause to our first recipient of the 2024 University Research Award, Professor Suman Datta.
So I have 2 minutes. First of all, it's a tremendous honor to receive this award, and it's extra special because I have so many good friends, collaborators, sponsors, and all my well-wishers friends over here today. I'm a second-generation electrical engineer. I grew up in Calcutta, India. My father got his degree in applied physics and worked on designing transmission grids. But he told me about vacuum tubes. And then he told me that something cool is happening in America. I was a little kid at that time, which is called semiconductors. He didn't quite explain what it was, but he said, that's where the real action is. So after my undergraduate degree at Indian Institute of Technology, I decided in electrical engineering to come to America and pursue my PhD in compound semiconductors. I was very fortunate to get hired at Intel in the advanced logic transistor group. And a big shout out I want to make to my mentor, Robert Chow, who is here today. Thank you. Who had a very soft corner for hiring engineers from Midwest who actually learned to predict transistor characteristics from small signal S parameter measurement. And I happened to do my PhD in compound semiconductor HBTs. So that was probably the reason why I got lucky and got hired by Robert. We had a lot of good fun at Intel with a lot of cool technologies that we developed in logic. But the biggest takeaway from me when I worked at Intel was, in God we trust, everybody else must bring data to the table. And and I think that is sort of what I carried with me when I decided to jump into academia, become a professor, become an educator, that at the end of the day, that's what ultimately speaks for itself. And that's how I've built my group. I've been very fortunate. And this award has a very special meaning to me because of two things. Number one, it speaks to the grit and the creative ideas of graduate students, undergrads that work in my group. It's hard work when you have to build devices in university campuses and then put out these devices each and every year at these top conferences like IEDM, VLSI that we do. And it also speaks, the second reason is the university professors who are working in this semiconductor device area. It's a pretty heavy lift to work in this area, particularly the experimental side. But they strive through, and this award is a testament to those who still believe, work hard every day for mainstream semiconductor technology, want to make it better. Finally, last but the least, my wife is here upstairs, and she'll be very angry if I don't mention her name. So big support, thank you to her. She's a biologist, she also teaches at Georgia Tech, and we have this ongoing argument all the time. She thinks that cells, tissue cultures, and organoids are a lot more cooler than semiconductor atoms and circuits. But maybe once she sees this award tonight, she might be able to change her mind. But once again, thank you so much for giving me this great honor to receive this award. Thank you.
Let's give you the award and get a picture. Okay, now for our next award recipient. Professor Flynn will receive the award for excellence in semiconductor design research. Just hold on a second. Hold on a second. Very, very eager award recipient over here. His pioneering research in analog to data converters has revolutionized analog feature extraction and high-speed communication links. That's a long sentence, too. Ushering in a new era of technological innovation and advancement. His work lays the foundation for transformative applications in fields ranging from telecommunications to biomedical engineering to AI. I hope I got that right. All right, excellent. Well, please join me in congratulating our next recipient of the 2024 University Research Award, Professor Michael Flynn. Come on up on the stage now.
Thanks, John. I am so thrilled to receive this award. I want to thank the SIA member companies that I've worked with over all these years, SRC. Again, a big shout out to Todd Youngkin for all their tremendous support. My work would not be possible without my 50 fantastic current and previous PhD students. And the University of Michigan has been a wonderful place to live and do research and teach. I also want to thank my wonderful wife, Linda, and my family. I began my career at a very interesting time in semiconductors. I grew up on a dairy farm in County Cork, Ireland, and I decided to, yeah, I think there's a few more dairy farmers here as well, so, I decided to study electrical engineering in Cork because it was easier and more interesting than milking cows. In my last year at University College Cork, I took a class on analog circuits. I got 42%. That was just above the 40% passing grade. But I loved analog circuits because it was very difficult, and also there was a tremendous opportunity for innovation and creativity in analog circuits. Eventually, I found my way to Carnegie Mellon University, and my PhD on analog to digital converters was supported by the groundbreaking SRC CAD Center at CMU. The early 90s were a really interesting time, a bit like what's going on now. There was a lot of worry that Japan was going to take the semiconductor industry over. But there was huge investment by SRC, by industry, by the government, and things really turned around. And the US became a superpower, the superpower in IC design, and that lasted for about 2 decades. The chip design ecosystem is a unique collaboration between academia, government, and industry. Universities train students and come up with new ideas. Companies interact with faculty and students, and in my experience, that interaction has been really, really important and really, really open and helpful, with a two-way transfer of knowledge. And then governments support long-term research. At this time in the US, when we're starting to realize the importance of semiconductors, I want to remind people that they should also nurture IC design. There is so much that we can do in circuit design. As an analog circuits person, perhaps we can slash the power of computing with analog circuits. Low-power analog circuits, wireless systems that are implantable, could transform medical care. There are tremendous opportunities for improving energy efficiency, energy distribution, and transportation, all with circuit design. We can turn things around again, just like we did in the 90s. Thank you so much.
I don't think we're taking enough pictures tonight. What do you guys think? All right. Let's give both professors one last big round of applause. Thank you. Now, let's hear from another outstanding champion for our industry in Washington.
Hi, everyone. Thank you to the Semiconductor Industry Association for inviting me to speak. And on behalf of the entire CHIPS team, thank you for joining in this effort to revitalize the U.S. chip industry. The CHIPS and Science Act passed with overwhelming bipartisan support, and that speaks to how essential our work is to the future of this country. Over the last year, our CHIPS Program Office has announced more than $36 billion in proposed funding, which has catalyzed more than $400 billion in private investments across dozens of states. We recently made our first award and expect more in the coming weeks and months. Thanks to the work of the CHIPS office, the U.S. now has signed term sheets with all 5 of the world's leading-edge logic, memory, and advanced packaging providers. These proposed investments are bringing the most advanced technology in the world right here to America. No other economy in the world has more than 2 of those companies expanding on their shores. We are seeing unbelievable technology growth as well. Recent reports show TSMC Arizona chip yields have surpassed those yields in Taiwan. That means the leading-edge chips made in Arizona are as efficient as leading-edge chips made in Taiwan. These manufacturing incentives are working, and they're vital to bringing the chip industry back to America. But as I've always said, the R&D incentives are foundational to the industry's growth in the U.S. for generations to come. Commerce recently announced 2 NSTC flagship facilities, and we expect to announce the 3rd in the coming months. Together, these facilities will fuel collaboration and innovation and accelerate time to market. And across CHIPS R&D, there are major achievements that will drive breakthroughs. We have funded more than $190 million to more than 40 metrology projects. We've announced over $1.5 billion for packaging. And we've got big news on the CHIPS Manufacturing USA Institute for Digital Twins. I'm also working to tackle the biggest problem that I've heard across industry: workforce. Ensuring that we have the workers we need for generations to come is essential to our success. Therefore, we just launched the Workforce Center of Excellence with an expected $250 million in investment over the next decade to ensure that we build, train, and develop America's semiconductor workforce. We have to get it right. Our success depends on it. I am thrilled for the future of this critical industry and the benefits it will bring to America's economy, America's people, and our national security. Thank you for all you've done and for all that you will do.
All right, I probably not a good idea for me to pick a fight with the Secretary's numbers, but she is outgoing, so let me just point out. She said $400 million in private investment was spurred by the CHIPS Act. By our numbers, it's $450 billion. But what's $50 billion for our industry? Rounding error, right? Anyway, let's give an applause to Secretary Raimondo for her great support for our industry. All right, now it's time to turn to the presentation of the semiconductor industry's top honor, the Robert N. Noyce Award. But first, on a more somber note, earlier this year, we lost two iconic leaders and innovators in our industry, both former recipients of the Noyce Award, Bob Denard and Charlie Spork. Bob Denard invented DRAM and pioneered semiconductor scaling. He was an IBM Fellow Emeritus and the 2019 recipient of the Noyce Award. Charlie Spork pioneered semiconductor production and innovation, and an accomplishment we are particularly grateful for at SIA. He co-founded SIA in 1977. Charlie received the Noyce Award 19 years later. We thank them both for their many contributions to our industry. With that, let's move on to the presentation of this year's Noyce Award. We'll start with a short video about the award's namesake, the one and only Robert Noyce. We play it every year. It makes me well up every year, so here we go. Now, to present the 2024 Robert N. Noyce Award, please join me in welcoming to the stage NVIDIA's founder, president, and CEO, and the 2021 recipient, Jensen's eager to get up here, of the Noyce Award, the ever-awesome Jensen Huang. Jensen, it's all yours.
I am so thrilled to be here. I was so excited what you're thinking. This isn't what it looks like. This is a glass of wine. So don't judge me. I am so humbled, so touched to be the second-time recipient of the Robert Noyce Award. Thank you all for coming here tonight to honor me, and I've always thought that if only I could have a second ego, another eagle like this one, to sit with the first one, that lonely eagle on my shelf, and my dreams came true today. Thank you so much. Well, you could dream, Art. I am honored. I am honored to introduce today's Robert Noyce Award recipient and celebrate someone who's fundamentally shaped our industry. Without this person's contributions, NVIDIA would not be here. And that's not lightly said, and I mean that completely. Dr. Art DeGius. The Noyce Award is reserved for those who embody Robert Noyce's spirit, his vision, his resilience, unrelenting belief in technology's transformative powers. These are the properties, the characteristics that embody art. I've known Art for a very long time. And like Noyce, Art didn't just found a company, he invented an entire industry. Invented an industry. He gave us tools that transformed chip design and are now the cornerstone of our industry. This award places Art alongside legends like Gordon Moore, Morris Chang, visionaries whose breakthroughs became the bedrock of modern technology. The truth is, I can go on and on about Art. He's a genius, he's a visionary, he's an engineer, he's a problem solver, he's a company builder, he's a businessman, he's built an incredible company, one of the most consequential companies the world's ever known. All true. But today is not the time or place to tell you about all those. Today, we will celebrate Art as one of the visionaries of our industry. Art and I share a lot in common, in fact. We're both founders. We've run our companies as CEOs for decades. Survived a lot of challenges. We've been partners for decades, in fact. And I'll tell you some stories in a second. We saved each other's companies several times. We also have some minor differences, some small differences. Art has a rock band. I'm a rock star. Art plays musical instruments. I make computational instruments. He plays in bars. I do stadiums. I couldn't help it. I love you. I love you. Well, for nearly 40 years, some 40 years ago, Art founded Optimal Solutions and introduced the world to logic optimization. That was the first time that Art and the company that he founded in North Carolina came into our world. In 1988, he took it to the next level, and with Verilog logic synthesis, introduced design compiler. Just the word design compiler, remember. We design chips, we don't compile chips. Design compiler was groundbreaking, and Art revolutionized, literally, completely revolutionized chip design forever. If not for that fundamental invention, almost everything that we're doing today wouldn't be possible. Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong, design chips is still hard, but it became like writing high-level software languages than pushing around polygons and gates, and the world changed. What once required painstaking efforts by hand became methodology-powered, and the word methodology came into our world, powered by high-level design. The concept of high-level design was introduced during that time, completely revolutionized everything, and logic optimization. High-level design unlocked the exponential growth of chips and led to an explosion in chip performance and applications. High-level design democratized chip design. What I'm about to say resonates with all of you, and in fact, it wasn't the case before. Design compiler was the pivoting point where system engineers became chip designers. Today, give me an example of a system engineer who's not a chip designer. Before then, chip designers were chip designers. And so this completely changed the world. Fabless companies emerged. Another industry grew up around it, and a new industry was started. NVIDIA was one of them. In 1993, when NVIDIA was founded in the early 90s, the chip industry was, now get this, during the time that we were founded, the entire chip industry, every one of the companies combined, was tens of billions of dollars. Tens of billions of dollars. I know, we did that last quarter, but I know this isn't about me. God, it's killing me, Art. The chip industry was tens of billions of dollars at the time, and today it's on its way to $1 trillion industry. Fundamentally not possible without the tools. And if you use one milestone, one gauge, TSMC, because without design tools, how would TSMC have customers? And using TSMC as the gauge, TSMC grew from when the time I met them, a couple of $100 million. A couple of $100 million in 1990 to well over $100 billion today. Incredible growth. Last year alone, they produced nearly 12,000 designs. You're not going to do that by hand. Designed by over 500 companies, all of whom surely use tools from Synopsys. Now, I still remember when Synopsys generously gave us tools for free when we first started the company. We had no money, but we thought it'd be a good idea to start designing our chips, and Art sent over a minivan full of documentation. My first thought was, gosh, this is the heaviest software I have ever lifted. It took us all afternoon to get all that documentation out of the minivan into Curtis's garage in Fremont. And in response, I'm not kidding here, guys. In responding to his generosity, I gave to Synopsys 250,000 shares of NVIDIA. I know. To this day, Art says he can't find it. Now, this is the amazing thing. I did some rough calculations the other day. It's somewhere between 10 to 50 billion dollars. Art, it's in your drawer somewhere. Well, anyways, thanks to Synopsys, NVIDIA, what's that? Can build incredible systems at incredible speed and right the first time. NVIDIA's, just to put in perspective, now using another gauge, NVIDIA's Blackwell AI supercomputers has 7 custom chips. The total transistor count is over 600 billion transistors. And at the time that Art and I met, the chip that we compared to the chip that we built, 150,000 times larger. 150,000 times larger. 20 years later, design tools matter. Well, it's incredible how long we've partnered with Art and Synopsys. NVIDIA was really made possible because of Synopsys, and I don't mean that lightly. Between Synopsys and, of course, our partnership with TSMC, it was what made NVIDIA possible. And as a result of that, we invented accelerated computing and artificial intelligence. And what gives me incredible joy is after 20 years, after all this time, now Synopsys is using NVIDIA to reinvent design tools and simulation tools. And so I'm really excited about that. Art is definitely more than a technical genius. There's no question he's one of our industry's technical geniuses. His resilience, optimism, and steadfast vision made Synopsys possible today. Starting a company is hard. I can attest to that. Starting a company is hard. But creating an entire industry is simply not done regularly. That happens once in a generation. Art built one of the world's great and consequential companies. And as a result of that, you've enabled entire industries, all of us included, to shape the future of technology. Art, your life's work made it possible for all of us to do ours. On behalf of a grateful industry, big fans, admirers, all of us, we want to thank you for everything you've done. An amazing company you've created, incredible legacy you're leaving behind. Thank you. Before he speaks, let's enjoy a video to enjoy his extraordinary journey with a special tribute. All right, so please enjoy.
Art is brilliant,
Visionary,
passionate,
loved,
awesomely innovative,
a great partner.
Our industry has innovated at a pace and complexity like no other. Synopsys, under Art's leadership, has tamed that complexity and delivered 10 million X in productivity improvements to our customers. Now that is impact.
Art had a choice in the early days: close ranks for a year and live in stealth mode and put a product out a year later, or take a prototype and test it in the market to let the customers drive the product development. He made the choice to engage with customers, and that really set a tone for the company: always be customer driven. Design Compiler changed everything, changed the industry from computer-aided design to electronic design automation. That revolution is the lasting impact on the industry from Art to GS.
AMD and Synopsys have had an incredibly deep partnership over the years. Our engineers are always working side by side, solving problems together, really getting to our next technology as fast as possible. EDA has been really an enabler. Synopsys, under Art's leadership, has been truly a leader in this field.
It was really a pleasure to work with Art. I mean, he's a very strong technical guy, and we were working on technical problems at the time. And we were both chasing the same rainbow. Intel was a well-developed company at that time. Synopsys was just starting. But the need for automating design capability and debugging capability was paramount because of the increased complexity of chips.
You know, the work that TSMC and Synopsys has done has really driven groundbreaking changes in the way that engineers work. What's really important is the tools that Art has put together with Synopsys. He's taken the perspiration part and automated it and allowed engineers to really be innovative in creating the best of new designs.
This industry is not for the faint of heart. We're always taking those nearly impossible challenges and overcoming them together. And Art has been doing that for decades in the semiconductor industry.
The values that Art operated the company since its beginning were around trust and execution excellence with passion. And that will be long-lasting, well beyond Art's direct role at Synopsys.
He's able to think very analytically while also seeing the big picture. And then he marries that with a set of strong core values and a deep belief in people. Those skills and beliefs have allowed Art to build a winning culture at Synopsys and been very successful from founder to CEO of a multi-billion-dollar industry-leading company.
I would boil down Art's values to wanting to do the right thing for all of the constituents, the company, the customers, the employees, and the community.
Both of us wanted to create an organization that was values-based, that reflected the values that we thought were important, but we also wanted an organization that didn't depend on us for direction, where ideas could come up any place in the organization, and if they were good ideas, they would percolate up.
Of all the advice that I have received from Artegias, if you have a goal of leaving the other person an inch taller, then you have made our community a better place.
I've marveled at his dedication, his curiosity, and his commitment to learning as much as he can, as fast as he can. Those same traits that I imagine must have powered Synopsys to its success are now being focused on finding climate solutions that scale. That is very good news for our world.
I've known many sides of Art. Art the intellectual, Art the technology innovator, the customer and industry value creator, company culture and value builder, community and global ambassador, the father, husband, and Art the artist.
Art is a guitar-playing firecracker. I auditioned for Art's band, Legally Blue, and Art believed in my talent. That guy can play a mean guitar.
I think Art is a clone of Bob Noyce. They're both Renaissance individuals of the late 20th, early 21st century.
I mean, the man never sits still. It's kind of remarkable. So Art's going to continue on that path. And I think he's going to make a big impact on the world.
Art, congratulations on winning the Robert N. Noyce Award. Well done.
Ladies and gentlemen, Artegias.
Take a breath here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And you know, Jensen, thank you. It's a very clear assignment I have right now to the SIA. I would love to be the introducer of the two-time recipient next year at this event. Thank you, John, David, and the SIA for this splendid recognition. And thanks all of you in the room for the years of teaching, and most importantly, the trust that I've received from so many of you over multiple decades. Thank you also to the video team that put this together, and most importantly, the people that were in the video. So meaningful.
I'd like to recognize just half a dozen people. They all have two things in common. One is they have more skills and talent than I ever had. And secondly, without them, Synopsys would either not exist or certainly not be in the present state. And so please hold your applause as I mention them. But it is literally 40 years ago that synthesis appeared in the little R&D group I had at General Electric. And then 18 months later, GE decides to get out of semiconductors and to lay us off. At that point in time, with two members of my team, Bill Krieger and David Gregory, we started to think on this idea of how do we turn layoff lemons into entrepreneurial lemonade. And somehow it succeeded because we talked Synopsys, GE, into letting us start Synopsys initially under the name Optimal Solutions. And from there, it was off to the races. And the lesson I learned is that no matter how something is truly impossible, never omit the courage to try. And this industry has done this over and over and over again. And then about a year after Synopsys founded, we were joined by Harvey Jones from Daisy Systems. And he became our president and then for a number of years CEO. And what he brought was the commercial side, sales, marketing, and he had fantastic business acumen. And over the decades, I've come to appreciate more and more and more how much I have learned from him. Then early 90s, Chi-Foon Chen joined us from NEC. Many of you know him. And he immediately proceeded to essentially scale the trust with our customers. And actually, he did it with Deirdre, who will be speaking later, who was employee number 8 of Synopsys. And for a number of decades, Chi-Foon and I worked hand in hand to essentially create the heart and soul of Synopsys. And the way I am today, a big piece of DNA is from him. And then, many years later, we have another change. We have a new CEO, Sassine Ghazi. I've known him also for a long time, 25 years. And he exemplifies the fact that I mentioned earlier, skills and abilities well beyond my own. And he's absolutely the perfect leader for our company, has my full support, and actually I'm very curious to see where we will be in a few years. Let me zoom in a little further to the inner circle. And of course, I am blessed with 2 daughters that have become strong, independent, and caring women. And this is all due to the one person in the middle of this, which is my wife, Esther. And as so many of you know, people in our field, it's 24/7. In our roles, the pressure never ends, and there's always one more phone call to do. And so, in many ways, she's the person that has held our family together, made it what it is today, and to great amazement has managed to simultaneously have her own great career as professor of epidemiology at Stanford. And so, I'm blessed. Thank you. Thank you. Now, so many of you in the last few months have asked me, hey, Art, now that you're no longer CEO, what do you do with all that free time? What free time? I have a new quest. And the quest is, I would like to try to understand the systemic complexity of energy and climate. Now, that's not an easy task. It's like learning from a fire hose. And yet, I would love to share a couple of insights that I've gotten in the last few months. Although with disclaimer, capital letters here, disclaimer is, I'm learning in everything I touch. There's like 10 or 100 things more that I should really know. And so my objective has been, whatever I see, simplify to the max to see if I can get to the essence of what matters. And for the mathematicians in the room, that would be, what are the eigenvectors that determine where this thing is going? And so, in order to understand systemic complexity, it takes 3 things. Understand what's connected to what and find if there are any feedback loops. 2, what's big and what's small. And 3, what's fast and what's slow. If you know that, you're already pretty close. For the climate, I use 3 lenses. The first lens is science. Science is truth. And by the way, the advances in science have been fantastic in the last decades. The second ring around this lens is techonomics. This is a term that I happened to introduce to our industry about 20 years ago, and it balances the fact that invention, changes in technology, need to always be mirrored in a corresponding economic result that balances this out and makes it survive. The third ring around this is people to politics to policies. And I can share with you that that's going to be by far the hardest one. We all understand that. So let me very quickly summarize the simplest model I've been able to come up with. You'll understand it immediately. Energy is at the center. Energy has one great benefit, and the great benefit is standard of living. It has a big side effect. For most of the energy, it puts CO2 and some other gases in the atmosphere. CO2 becomes a warming blanket on Earth. Temperature goes up, climate changes. Climate has big impact on extreme weather. Extreme weather hammers standard of living. That's the feedback loop, the feed-forward and feedback loop. So in all of that, CO2 is actually pretty important. It behooves us to understand a little bit better. And I found one graph that totally captured my attention. It's the density of CO2 for the last 1,000 years. So you start 1,000 years ago, and the density is 280 ppm. And essentially it doesn't change at all, And then 1800, industrial age, zip, 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 zip. It goes way up to 420. Now that captured my attention. But what really shocked me is when by accident on using some PowerPoints, and many of you know, I'm just enthused by exponentials. I love them. I happen to have a mathematically perfect exponential, and I could just morph it on those years since 1800. The fit is astoundingly exact. You cannot see the difference. Now we know if there's one thing, exponentials are very powerful, but also very dangerous. And I personally, I cannot unsee this graph. So I would like to share with you two numbers today that I hope you will remember. One is 1 ton, and the other is 1 trillion tons. Pareto graph, let's start with the trillion tons. 1800, there are 2 trillion tons of CO2 in the atmosphere. A trillion, by the way, is 12 zeros, and a ton is 1,000 kilograms. 2 trillion in 1800. Today, it's 3 trillion. Difference between the two, 1 trillion. That's your first number. But there's a little more to that. Remember, it's sort of on this exponential thing. Of that 1 trillion put since then in the atmosphere, half was in the last 40 years. With other words, this is both big and fast. Those are dangerous conditions. Now let me give you a little bit more visceral number. I flew to Europe in the summer, 1 flight to go there, 1 ton. Come back, 2 tons. Actually, I flew business class. Multiply by 3, 6 tons. It adds up pretty quickly. I didn't do the calculation for Jensen's plane, but okay. The fact is, if you have to remove the CO2 today, you can do it. It costs about $500 to $1,000. With other words, we're a long way off from a big problem. Let me just finish to close the feedback loop. There's a graph that shows extreme weather damage impact. I have it only for the US over the last 40 years, and lo and behold, it's a little noisy. It is an exponential too. And that exponential has now passed $200 billion per year. It is very clear. We have a very urgent need for action and innovation. Well, talking about innovation, what industry could we role model against? How about the semiconductor industry? We've run this bouquet of exponentials like crazy, and I've always wondered, how is it possible we've been able to sustain this? And I think there are 2 things that our industry does so well. It is invent and improve. Invention is essentially find a new angle, find a discontinuity, and inject some exponential DNA into the problem. Improve, of course, is tune and polish and polish and polish. But it is fundamentally trying to achieve tech-onomic viability. Can you build something of sufficient value so you can sell, you can money, and you can put the money back in the invention? Let's take an example. At the very beginning of the information age, our age, the transistor. You look at the picture of that thing, it clearly needs a lot of polishing and effort. And actually, that's exactly what the manufacturing people did, which is they pushed on yield, 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 and made it smaller and smaller, and then area gradually became PPA all the way. It took 13 years since then for the next very big discontinuity, a fabulous one, incidentally propelled by Kilby and Noise, of all people, which is the transition to the integrated circuit. Take transistors and connect them in the same silicon. This is a very big discontinuity because connectivity is now in the game. And actually, I would propose to you that it is the very foundation of computation, because from that moment on, software and silicon become part of the same coin. Now, there have been many infusions since then. I don't have to mention them all, but CMOS, copper, lithography breakthroughs, FinFET, EDA. Did I just mention EDA? What was that company? Yeah. Synopsys. You know, those guys, they were so damn lucky. They were so lucky. They had this synthesis thing, and it happens to be right between computer-aided design and electronic design automation. And we just heard it. Automation changed everything because it unleashed the digital design age. And today, looking back, we've probably together increased 10 million x the productivity. So what are the learnings from our industry? Well, there are two in my mind. One is that we have managed to grow systemic complexity with these multiplicative infusions while rigorously sustaining technomic viability. So let's apply our lessons to the industrial age now. And first thing we recognize, boy, they were really, really great at building systemic complexity as well, from engines to machines to automation and then energy all over the place. And they actually fulfilled a great mission. They augmented and scaled human muscle. That's a great addition or multiplication on the human being. But their technomic feedback loop is incomplete. There's no accountability for CO2, no sustainability for the 1 trillion they put in the air. And so this brings me to what's called the dual challenge. The challenge is that all of humanity, including especially now our industry, wants way more energy and way less climate change. That requires a massive energy transition. Now, it's exciting to see that most recently, just the last few months, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, they've all made nuclear PPA commitments. PPA in that case stands for Power Purchase Agreements. And it's great because they have a zero carbon commitment going forward. They clearly have the need for computation, but also the ability to invest and pay. And most importantly, it activates a nuclear technomic market. But what I love most is it finally brings impatience into the game. This is us, this is our industry. We have no time for dilly-dallying. And I can just see the day where some of those people meet with some people in Washington that say, oh, it's so great what you're doing. In 4 years, the permitting will be ready for you. This is more real than you know. So it's super high urgency. Which brings the question, actually, so what is the mission of our industry? And so if the industrial age literally augmented and scaled the human muscle, the information age mission is becoming very clear. It is augment and scale the human brain. Can we do it? Well, ask Jensen. I heard him the other day say, you know, he's already building intelligence factories. I hope they have no smokestack. But the fact is, what has been launched with this AI software and silicon compute is a fantastic coin that is spinning faster and faster. But the coin wants way more compute, which brings me back to us. There are some exponential breakthroughs needed. The good news is I think we have some very big ones already in hand. Remember I mentioned earlier the transistor going to the integrated circuit? Well, now what's happening is the integrated circuit is going to the multi-die, and the multi-die is also three-dimensional. And to do that, there have been great advances in connectivity. We can literally now do hundreds of thousands of copper connections per square millimeter, which is about this big. And so the coin will be spinning faster and faster. Everyone wants more compute. A lot of people want to actually spin the coin to actually use the AI, and that will demand enormous amounts of energy. Energy that we must assure comes about without CO2. That's just another way of saying that now silicon, software, and energy, that is our new systemic complexity. This brings me to my ask of you. You know, at Synopsys for many years used the phrase of, they who have the brains to understand should have the heart to help. Today, with the gravitas of the situation, the complexity, this is not sufficient. So I amended it with, they who have the brains to understand should have the heart to help and the courage to act. So some of you may say, so why us? Why us? Because you are masters of systemic complexity. You have lived the most amazing exponentials on record, and you have the courage to lead beyond yourself, beyond your company, beyond your nation, beyond your industry, for the simple reason that you care, that we care. And so if we indeed do the impossible, that is, augment and scale the human brain, then for sure we can be catalysts to kick ass with the dual challenge. I am so grateful and moved by your recognition, and especially the privilege to talk to you about something that matters to me. Thank you.
Art, I must say, I wasn't sure where you were going there a couple of times, but I must say you really brought it home. That was an amazing presentation. Let's give a big hand for Art. He's a remarkable leader. All right, we're running over a little bit, but we're going to get Deirdre up here, and we're going to talk about the NSTC because it's really important to all of us. It's my pleasure to introduce tonight's keynoter, NatCast CEO Deirdre Hanford. Propel semiconductor R&D through NatCast, the operator of the NSTC, a critical research program launched by, where's Donna? The CHIPS Act.
Yay, Donna.
Yay, Donna. As a leading expert on semiconductor technology, and a highly respected industry veteran, Deirdre is eminently qualified to chart a path for this new entity. I should also add, she's tireless. It's her superpower. Literally, I don't think, Deirdre, you ever sleep. So with that, let's sit down, Deirdre, and have a quick conversation, then we're going to send all you folks home. So Deirdre, I have a few cards here with
random selection? Because
yes.
we're going to speed this up, right?
And
it's been a long
so
night.
I'm going to
really
surprise you
important
with
one.
some truncated questions, if that's okay.
I'll be brief.
So we wanted you up here because the NatCast is new, and I know it's really important, and we want to show our support for what you're trying to do. In a nutshell, why is this new entity important for our industry and for America?
In a nutshell, well, when you think about the innovation we've celebrated tonight. We have an innovation mindset here. And this nation does nothing better than bring new products to market. And we've had a challenge with supply chain. Remember when Jim Farley had a $2 billion loss back in 2022 because he couldn't ship his cars because he couldn't get enough chips. So with all the beautiful incentive grants that are going out, with the fabs that are being built in North America, we will have more manufacturing capacity on shore and wonderful capacity with our allies. But we need to continue to innovate as a country, and that means R&D investment. You all have a statistic for every R&D dollar spent in this country, there's $16.50 of GDP that's contributed. So in a nutshell, we need to make sure that we are putting R&D on turbocharge here in the United States.
Can you tell us a little bit how NST works? You opened up a new NST to membership, and we're particularly interested, we always like the idea that NST is industry-driven, at least the ideas. How are you going to bring industry input into the NSTC and NatCast?
So we've just published a strategic plan, our 3-year plan. It's on the website. I invite you all to take a look at it. And we have really 3 missions. I'll keep it short. One is research, driving the next innovation in research, and we're going to do that as a community. We'll get back to that in a minute. The next is bring infrastructure to bear, because a lot of research needs to be conducted in facilities where you can come in and conduct that magical research. And then the third is workforce. So research, infrastructure, and workforce. And so we're bringing these capacities online. Started in February 1st as employee number 1, and now we're at 38, so that's really wonderful.
And does number 8 mean anything to you?
Number 8, yes.
What is that?
Synopsys, I was number 8.
You've gotten on the ground floor some pretty good deals.
Well, in Art, when he first said that he was maybe going to be, no longer CEO, I figured he was going to hand in his badge. And I was so excited because I was going to bump from number 8 to number 1. But then he said, no, I'm still got a lot of cycles to contribute to Synopsys. But yeah, I'm super fortunate to have been in a great company since the very beginning. And I think that opportunity, Art and Chi-Foon said, Deirdre, get off to Washington and solve some of our challenges, because they're senators that suddenly know what logic synthesis is, and that's not good.
Well, they say they know what it is.
Well, they do say they know what it is, but it's not good. So Art and Chi-Foon said, off you go figure out this Washington thing. Then I got on the CHIPS Industry Advisory Committee, and there's a number of us here in the room. I'm so pleased to have had the privilege to work with them all. And I think, the other thing about number 8 in other cultures, it's a very lucky number. I feel very fortunate because, I also am my father was in the military, so I have a huge, huge mission focus. I think this industry's been magnificent to me, and so proud to have worked for a great company like Synopsys and work with great people like Art and the entire team, and have Jensen torment me regularly as a customer.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, can't imagine is right. But I think that, it's our opportunity now to take this industry to the next level and continue our innovation. So you asked about membership. We are not just a division of Department of Commerce. In fact, we're not a division of Department of Commerce at all. We are a public-private partnership. And yes, our seed funding comes from the Department of Commerce, but really it's gathering together as an industry, solving problems with our academic colleagues like Suman Datta and Mike Flynn. We really need to make sure that we are innovating together, and I think that's what the NSTC is all about. So please, for those of you that haven't had a chance to check out joining and collaborating with us on research, infrastructure, and workforce, please consider it. We'd love to have a conversation about it.
I'll buy it. Sustainability of NSTC. How are you thinking about that beyond the funding window here?
Well, sustainability is an important matter because right now, as you know, we're going through a transition in Washington.
That was my next question.
We'll get to that. That happens every 4 years, but we are we've been established. What Donna, when she was in the Department of Commerce, and many smart people thought about how to best stand up this national asset, this enduring asset. And the decision was made by many smart people, including the selection committee and the trustees, to establish this public-private partnership. And I think that's the right model for how we go forward as a community.
So a few of us in Washington are thinking about January 20th. We have a new administration and a new Congress. How are you thinking about that, taking the NSTC NatCast through all of that?
Yeah, so we want to be a sustaining, enduring organization. So our seed funding from the government will take us forward, and we'll be working together with the industry to solve many, many challenges together. And we need to make sure our colleagues in Washington understand that. You know, it was Wilbur Ross and Mike Pompeo who wrote a letter to TSMC that said, please come to America. So in the prior administration, that's when all this got started. And I think we need to go and make sure that our colleagues in Washington remember that, embrace that, and continue to invest in our incredible industry.
Sounds like a lot of education. Oh, yes, I like that. So as you think about beyond January 20th and a year out, what milestones are you setting for yourself in terms of progress?
Well, if you look at research, we've already done a number of research grants out to the industry and to academia. So we're going to continue doing that. But we need to construct our research agenda. What big problems are we going to solve together as a community? Where can we uniquely solve problems by collaborating together? So my expectation is a year from now, we'll be well on our way to addressing some key grand challenges, like some of which Art mentioned earlier, right? We want to continue to innovate and drive this AI-based economy, but do so in a way that we can continue to add performance and not have to have nuclear reactors next to every data center. So I think that in research, we'll be conducting amazing research as a community. From an infrastructure standpoint, we've announced 2 of our facilities. One is with partnership with our colleagues at New York Creates over this way, where we will be bringing online EUV-based research, high NA EUV-based research. And I think the community will have an opportunity to leverage that great facility and do some remarkable R&D work. On the workforce side, we are bent on being industry-driven. You mentioned that at the top of this conversation. We need to make sure that the programs we stand up are ones that yield workers that you all want to hire. And I recently was in Arizona, and I was recently also in Austin, and the work that Maricopa Community College and Austin Community College are doing to build your technicians is outstanding. And we also need the great universities like Georgia Tech, like Carnegie Mellon, like Stanford, Berkeley, Purdue, to generate remarkable electrical engineers and material scientists and chemists so that we can continue to do our innovation. But we all need to make sure we're spreading the good word about what a remarkable industry this is, because a lot of those young people are getting peeled off to do other things. But when you think about research, infrastructure, and workforce, we will be moving the needle on all those fronts. And when I say we, it's this whole crowd.
Because we all know research and R&D is the other side of the workforce coin. It's a huge magnet to draw the workforce in.
Yeah, and if we can be sponsoring more researchers at facilities to do remarkable work that excites these companies to further innovate and further invest, I think we'll have created this remarkable virtuous cycle. In addition to that, we'll be creating the next NVIDIAs. Sorry, Jensen, there will be a next something. And the next AMD, the next Qualcomm, the next Astera Labs. I mean, there's just so many cool companies in this industry. We want to yield the ground for the next set of companies to come and innovate.
So question, SIA is association, so we're very focused on membership. Keeps the lights on. How's the membership recruitment going for you?
Membership recruitment's going well. We opened our membership on September 28th, And within a month, we were up to 52 members. So we're excited about those of you that have already committed to join the NSTC. We've got some folks that will say, well, what does it mean to join now versus later? When we do things like stand up our roughly $500 million investment fund, I want to make sure that the members are informing where we invest and how we invest those dollars. I want venture partners like Maverick Capital, they're here tonight, and others. Lip-Bu Tan's not here, but he's a great investor in our field. We want to make sure that our little investment fund crowds in other investments. And I think it's through membership that will inform those types of strategies.
Can you talk a little bit more about the facilities already announced, the siting locations, and what the future may hold?
Sure. We announced our partnership with New York Creates on EUV. We've announced our collaboration and design facility in beautiful Sunnyvale, California. And at that facility, we'll be focusing on our design-based research, and we'll be standing up some of our infrastructure for small companies, et cetera. Now, we're doing a significant investment with Dev Palmer, who runs the packaging program inside of CHIPS, because we're going to be standing up a logic prototyping R&D center, and he's going to be standing up a packaging line for R&D and early prototyping. So we're going to combine those forces. So we're in the middle of site selection for that facility. And I think as you heard from the secretary, we do want to have those announcements ready to go soon. The other area that we hear a lot from members and potential members is, what about the other technology centers that were highlighted in the PCAST report that Dr. Lisa Su led, or in the CHIPS vision document, where we talked about not only a logic and packaging center, can we have a center for memory? Can we have a center for life sciences? And we certainly want to do them all. I think it's a matter of partnering with the industry to find ways to bring those kind of capabilities online for collaboration. But I also want to make sure that we remember how important it is going to be to do cross-cutting research.
All right, let's just, in the last couple of minutes here, just back up a little bit and get a little higher level. Art was talking about some major challenges to the world and things that our industry can do to help address them on the climate change side. Mm-hmm. From your view, what are the biggest challenges to the semiconductor ecosystem as we go forward?
Well, I selfishly want all of those remarkable innovations that AI is going to enable. And I think that we have to find ways to bring on more and more capacity, because it's painful to know that universities are constrained now by the amount of compute cycles that they can get. So I really feel like, continuing on not just AI, but that high-performance compute path is critical. And we're going to need to solve problems like the memory wall. We're going to need to solve problems like the topology of the infrastructure, because moving data is power hungry as computing. And so I think that there's a lot that we need to do in that space, but we have other challenges as well. And if you think about, we are, like it or not, an aging population. And so how can...
Some faster than others.
Some are going to live to 1,000, I'm quite sure. But how can we bring the wonders of semiconductor to life sciences? And I think that when we look at each of the domains, how are we going to continue to evolve the remarkable automotive industry in this country? So when I look at it, I think the sky's the limit of what we want to address.
All right, one lightning round question, and then we're done.
Thank you. You've got that one glass of wine for me, don't you?
Chablis, right?
Okay,
got it.
Whatever.
In 10 years, what does success look like for you in terms of the NSTC?
In 10 years, we have a vibrant community. We all have excellent companies, and we all do a lot of great bilateral partnerships. At Synopsys, we worked with the foundries and the fabless companies and the IDMs, and all of those relationships were very precious. But I think what we need to unlock is really doing even yet more collaborative research in this country. And I think in 10 years, we'll have a vibrant restocking of the engineers in this industry. We'll have amazing research being conducted at our facilities. and we'll be innovating in such a way in this country that all of those fabs will be running out of capacity, and we'll have a virtuous cycle of remarkable things that we can't even imagine yet. What do you think?
You're the expert. I'm asking the questions, Deirdre. And remarkably, we're out of time.
Perfect.
I just want to say, Deirdre, thanks so much for that, before we clap for her. Deirdre, we think you're the best. You're the bee's knees. You're perfect for this job. It's a very kind of high-stakes job. We want to be here to support you and do what we can to make sure it's a success. So let's give a big round of applause.
Thank you.
Oh,
Nope. Don't
okay.
get up.
All right. So that almost concludes the program for the night. Just one more quick thing I got to do, and it's back to the lists. Everyone's encouraged to attend the after-dinner reception right out of these doors. There is a phalanx of beautiful ice sculptures out there. I encourage you to take a look at them, but don't put your tongue on them. And the after-dinner reception is sponsored by the Platinum sponsors, and I'm going to try not to mess it up this time. Arizona Commerce Authority, Clary Gottlieb, Indiana Economic Development Corporation, Intel, Jobs Ohio, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, Micron, the National Institute for Industry and Career Advancement, NVIDIA, New York Labs Nanotech, Salesforce, Samsung, Synopsys, and Western Digital. Finally, I'm going to ask you to give one more round of applause, this time to the really incredible team at SIA that has put this dinner together. And they somehow managed to make me look good every once in a while. It's really an awesome team, and they work tirelessly for this industry. So good night, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Hope to see you beyond these doors. Thank you.